نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Today inshallah we will begin from verse number 41 of Surah Al-Ahzab. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. O you who have believed, remember Allah with much remembrance. Dhikr is a special form of worship in that Allah SWT did not define any limits for it. So for Salah, there are 5 prayers per day. And then every prayer has prescribed number of rak'ahs. For fasting, there is a month dedicated in Ramadan. For zakah, it is obligated only once each year at a fixed rate. And then Hajj is obligated once in the entire lifetime, but at a particular time of the year. But when you look at dhikr, there is no such restriction. You can do dhikr at all times and in all states without any prerequisites. Narrated by Abu Darda, and Ibn Majah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, ألا أنبئكم بخير أعمالكم وأرضاها عند مليككم وأرفعها في درجاتكم وخير لكم من إعطاء الذهب والورق ومن أن تلقوا عدوكم فتضربوا أعناقهم ويضربوا أعناقكم. قالوا وما ذاك يا رسول الله؟ قال ذكر الله. Shall I not tell you of the best of your deeds, the most pleasing to your sovereign, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those that raise you most in the status, that are better than your gold and silver, or meeting your enemy in battle and you strike their necks and they strike your necks. So Sahaba became curious as to what is that thing which is better than all these that are mentioned above. So they asked, what is that, O Messenger of Allah? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, remembering Allah, meaning his dhikr. So we get this understanding that dhikr of Allah has such a great importance in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a lot of times in our particular situation, it is hard for us to gain hasanat, to do good deeds. Maybe someone does not have enough wealth to give sadaqah, or does not have enough health to keep the nafil fast. But dhikr is something that is not restricted. You don't need to have wealth or health or anything for that matter to perform dhikr. It is something you can perform at any time. And we learn from this narration, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam explained how it is ranked above many things in terms of how you can achieve a higher status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just by involving yourself in dhikr at all times. وَسَبِّحُوهُ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا, and glorify him the morning and evening. بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا means أَوَّلَ النَّهَارِ وَآخِرَهُ, beginning and end of each day. And here, morning and evening could be the specified times of zikr to emphasize them, or they could be to indicate abundance of zikr at all times. And we find many narrations that encourage abundance of dhikr. Narrated by Abdullah bin Busr anhu in Tirmidhi, a man said to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, قال يا رسول الله إن شرائع الإسلام قد كثرت علي فأخبرني بشيء أتشبث به. قال لا يزال لسانك رطبا من ذكر الله. So a person said to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, O Messenger of Allah, indeed the legislated acts of Islam, the prescribed acts of Islam, have become too much for me. So inform me of a thing that I should stick to, that I can perform and be consistent in doing. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, let not your tongue cease to be moist with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, keep yourself busy with dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself used to make this dua, Allahumma ja'alni u'azzimu shukraka wa ukthiru dhikraka wa attabi'u nasihataka wa ahfadhu wasiyataka. O Allah, make me thank you, make me increase in remembrance to you, make me follow your instructions, and make me guard over that which you have commanded. So there are many narrations in this regard, and the lesson to be taken is we should remember to be involved in dhikr at all times, mornings, evenings, any time of the day. It doesn't have to be by your tongue, could be in your heart. But once you get into that practice, you gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you get the blessings in return from Him and His mercy. هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وكان بالمؤمنين رحيما. It is He who confers blessings upon you, and His angels ask Him to do so, that He may bring you out from darkness into light, and ever is He to the believers merciful. We get another encouragement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse to remain engaged with His remembrance. And in return, you get His favors. As it comes in Surah Baqarah, verse 152, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. Therefore remember me by praying, by glorifying, by remembering, and I will remember you. So how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us on abundance of dhikr? He showers His mercy and blessings upon us. And not only that, but His angels make dua of forgiveness for us. So dhikr ultimately brings you out of the darkness of ignorance to the light of guidance. And then towards the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. Means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful towards believers in this world and in the hereafter. He guides them to truth in this world when others remain ignorant, and He shows them the path of obedience when others go astray into disbelief and misguidance. And then in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save believers from the great horrors of the Day of Judgment, save them from hellfire, and enter them in paradise only through His utmost mercy and generosity towards believers. Narrated by Umar ta'ala in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said regarding a woman, أَتَرَوْنَ هَذِهِ طَارِحَةً وَلَدَهَا فِي النَّارِ قُلْنَا لَا وَهِيَ تَقْدِرُ عَلَى أَلَّا تَطْرَحَهُ فَقَالَ اللَّهُ أَرْحَمُ بِعِبَادِهِ مِنْ هَذِهِ بِوَلَدِهَا. Do you think that this lady can throw her son in the fire? We replied, no, if she has the power not to throw him in the fire. Then the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Allah is more merciful to His slaves than this lady to her son. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful to believers, and He will enter them into paradise. He will not punish them. He will save them from the challenges of the hereafter. And His mercy shows in many different ways to us in our daily life, and through our reflection, we appreciate that in every moment we have a blessing from Him. Even if you don't see something physical in your hand, it is your health alone. It is the breath that you get in the morning, the opportunity that you get every day to do good deeds and to seek forgiveness. All of those are mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you. Because once you pass away from this world, there is no opportunity for you to be closer to Him. تحيتهم يوم يلقونها سلام وأعد لهم أجرا كريما. Their greeting the day they meet Him will be peace, and He has prepared for them a noble reward. When a believer meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be greeted with salam. And some scholars say that this greeting will be at the time of death. Others think it is on the Day of Judgment, and yet another opinion is that this greeting will happen in paradise, and Allah knows best. Let's review verses 41 to 44. One should engage in remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times, especially in the mornings and evenings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers His mercy, and His angels pray for the forgiveness of those who remember Allah abundantly, and people of paradise will be greeted with peace. Salam. يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. O Prophet, indeed we have sent you as a witness and a bringer of good tidings and a warner, and one who invites to Allah by His permission and an illuminating lamp. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 5 qualities of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in these verses. First is that he is sent as a witness, shahidan. And there are two opinions about what will be witnessed by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. First is that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will be the witness to all prophets, that they delivered the message of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So the ummah of all these prophets will deny that they received the message, but the prophets will point to the ummah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who will acknowledge that these prophets fulfilled their job. Now the ummah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will be asked, how can they witness for prophets who are before their time? And they will point to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who will then give the testimony to the truth of his ummah. As it comes in Surah Baqarah, verse 143, لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا, that you be witnesses over mankind and the messenger be a witness over you. So that's the first opinion. The second opinion is that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will be the witness of deeds of his ummah as they are presented to him every morning and evening, or at least on a weekly basis. Surah Nisa, verse 41, وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا, and we bring you as a witness against these people. And Allah knows best. The next two attributes mentioned in this verse are مُبَشِّرًا وَنَذِيرًا, which means to be the conveyor of glad tidings and to be the warner of punishment. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has already informed us about the path that leads to paradise and about the actions that lead to hellfire. The next quality is دَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِإِذْنِهِ, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam calls people towards the oneness of Allah upon his command. And then the fifth attribute mentioned here is Sirajan Munira, means bright light, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself is the guiding light to the truth and salvation. And some scholars mention another meaning, which is that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam brings a message, which is Quran, that is as clear as sun shining brightly, and no one can deny it except those who are stubborn, and Allah knows best. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِأَنَّ لَهُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ فَضْلًا كَبِيرًا, and give good tidings to the believers that they will have from Allah great bounty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives glad tidings to believers of his great bounty. But what is that bounty? It is the blessing of faith, that they are saved from disbelief and shirk in this world, and it is the reward of paradise that they will receive in the hereafter. Allahumma jalna minhum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who are blessed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's great bounty. Ameen. وَلَا تُطِعِ الْكَافِرِينَ وَالْمُنَافِقِينَ وَدَعْ أَذَاهُمْ وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ وَكِيلًا. And do not obey the disbelievers and the hypocrites, and disregard their annoyance, and rely upon Allah, and sufficient is Allah as disposer of affairs. This verse reminds Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam not to be concerned with the attitude of disbelievers towards him in the path of Allah. He should maintain firm trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is enough to protect him against the schemes of disbelievers. And the same goes for us when we are out there preaching Islam, when we are out there practicing Islam. We should not be concerned with how other people may react to it. We should do our duty, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of the rest. Let's review verses 45 to 48. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the bright light of guidance to all humanity. And it is indeed a great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on believers that they are saved from disbelief in this world, and they are entered into paradise in the hereafter. And one should bear the difficulties and challenges in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with full confidence that He is there to support him. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نكحتم المؤمنات ثم طلقتموهن من قبل أن تمسوهن فما لكم عليهن من عدة تعتدونها فمتعوهن وسرحوهن سراحا جميلا. O you who have believed, when you marry believing women and then divorce them before you have touched them, then there is not for you any waiting period to count concerning them. So provide for them and give them a gracious release. So tamassuhunna means to jami'uhunna, that you had intimacy with them. عدة means مدة تنتظر فيها المرأة, waiting period for women before next marriage. وسرحوهن طلقوهن, that they divorce them. جميلا بلا أذى أو ضرر, gracefully without inflicting any harm. This verse mentions an important ruling about divorce. If a woman is divorced before she had intimacy with her husband, then there is no iddah, waiting period for her to get married again. In order for us to understand this ruling correctly, we need to understand the concept of al-khuluwat al-sahiha. So what is khuluwat al-sahiha? It is a private moment between the husband and the wife where they had reasoned opportunity to consummate the marriage without any concern of interference. Once khuluwat al-sahiha is established, the woman will need to perform iddah regardless of whether she had intercourse or not during this private moment with her husband. So we might be thinking, how is this subtle definition of khuluwat al-sahiha applicable to our society? Today, there's a prevalence of the custom of engagement, which is the commitment to get married between a man and a woman prior to conducting a formal nikah. But keep in mind that the engagement does not allow the future husband and wife to spend time with each other alone. In the eyes of Sharia, they are still non-mahram for each other. So the correct practice in this case would be to establish nikah right away, so there's no sin in the relationship and the couple can meet and go out together, even if the formal wedding ceremony is planned in the future and they have not really started living together. But there's one caution in delaying the wedding ceremony after nikah. If this couple now goes through a divorce before their wedding ceremony, the woman will still need to go through iddah because khuluwat al-sahiha had established. So the key message here is not to delay nikah after engagement and not to delay wedding after nikah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our youth from fitna and give them a life partner who brings joy to them in this world and in the hereafter and becomes a source of support in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ameen. So while we're on topic, bear in mind that in the case of husband's death before having khuluwat al-sahiha, the wife will still need to observe iddah of 4 months and 10 days. So death of husband has a different ruling than what we mentioned before. It comes in Surah Baqarah, verse 234. والذين يتوفون منكم ويذرون أزواجا يتربصن بأنفسهن أربعة أشهر وعشرا. And those of you who die and leave wives behind them, they, meaning the wives, shall wait for 4 months and 10 days. Bottom line is that when it comes to the matters of divorce and iddah, it is best to consult with a scholar for advice since the rulings can differ based on the specific circumstances of the individual. The next part of the verse is فَمَتِّعُوهُنَّ, meaning the divorced woman should be given a gift referred to as muta' at the time of separation. In the case of a woman who had full privacy with her husband, the muta' is desirable, mustahab, in addition to the mahar that is due on the husband. But for a woman who gets divorced before consummation of marriage, she gets half the mahar. And if her mahar was not specified at the time of nikah, the parting gift muta' becomes mandatory. It comes in Surah Baqarah, verse 236. وَمَتِّعُوهُنَّ عَلَى الْمُوسِعِ قَدَرُهُ وَعَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُهُ مَتَاعًا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. But give them a muta', a suitable gift, the rich according to his means and the poor according to his means, a gift of reasonable amount. Which means that the gift of muta' is to be given based on the financial capability of the husband, so it does not become a burden on him either. Then towards the end of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands to end the relationship of nikah in a graceful way. وَسَرِّحُوهُنَّ سَرَاحًا جَمِيلًا. Definitely, Islam does not encourage divorce, but if it becomes necessary due to the situation, then it should be done in a graceful way. The separation of husband and wife is a stressful event and is usually preceded with arguments and disagreements. Once a couple has decided to separate, though, Islam encourages graceful handling of this situation without any offensive exchange or verbal abuse or taunts, etc. Let's review the messages in verse 49. There is no waiting period, idda, for a woman divorced before the consummation of marriage. The divorced woman should be given a parting gift, mut'a, and Islam promotes a respectful separation without any taunt or abuse. We'll stop here inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.